Right now on the Diamond Factory Hotline, we welcome in my guy, your guy, our favorite guy, Texas Rangers insider, Jared Sandler, with the breaking news, Jared, that Jacob deGrom is going to be a Texas Ranger for the next 5 years to the tune of $185 million. Your perspective, sir.
Well, guys, wasn't expecting this, so I got to be honest with you. If I had a sobriety test, I probably could drive, but not totally sober. I'm just being honest.
Just
right?
how we like it. That's great.
720. Yeah. Might be rocking a floppy hat right now, but I mean, I'm pounding my fist like an elephant here. I mean, this is, we can sit here and debate. I'm sure we're going to. We can debate the contract and whatnot. I mean, obviously, there's never a perfect situation that's a total guarantee, but for an organization that is in dire need of pitching, they just signed the best pitcher on the market. And, when he's healthy, there's no one who does what Jacob deGrom does. So, people want them to improve their rotation. They just signed the guy who is, he pitches in a way that we've never seen before. I'm not saying he's the greatest pitcher of all time, obviously, but, throws 101, 102 with a 95-mile-an-hour slider. This is a special pitcher. So for the Rangers and the organization, this is a huge win, and now they've got more work to do.
So for a pitcher who is 34 years old, now 3 years removed from winning back-to-back Cy Youngs back in 18 and 19, what does he have left that should give Rangers fans confidence that the money that they just committed to him is going to be well worth it, given what he is and what he may not be at this point in his career?
Yeah, listen, KG, that's a great question, right? I mean, it's a risk. If deGrom is hurt for the majority or even half this contract, then that's a lot of money devoted to a guy who, a starting pitcher when healthy only pitches once every 5 days. And if you're hurt, then it's obviously more rare than that. So, it's definitely a risk, but he passed his physical. The Rangers, I think medically, probably feel good about where he is. You don't make this sort of an investment without doing that. And then just from, a team building standpoint, you don't sign Bruce Bochy if you don't mean business. All right. Mike Maddox isn't coming here if you don't mean business. You're not signing Jacob deGrom if you don't mean business. Again, once every 5 days, right? So if you're signing Jacob deGrom, you're doing it because you feel like you've got more moves coming. That doesn't mean Carlos Rodon. That doesn't mean top of the market. But you're going to make more moves, or you intend to make more moves that will fortify your team. If you're signing Jacob deGrom and you feel like, hey, end of story for this offseason, we'll see you on opening day, you're doing it wrong. But I don't think that is their intention.
Now, with Jacob deGrom as your number one pitcher, sliding Martin Perez back to your number two pitcher, obviously it's not nearly fully complete, but with what we have, what does this Rangers rotation now look like? And also, what does that mean for the young guys that people have been clamoring for to reach the bigs?
Yeah, well, so let's start with that. That's obviously a great talking point is this farm system. The best teams, you think like the Astros and the Dodgers, they've got guys who, it's a struggle for them to make it to the majors. Look at Christian Javier. He was arguably the best pitcher for the Astros during that playoff run. He wasn't even able to get consistent starts. So the depth is not an issue. Now, the Rangers do have the ability to make use of that depth and make trades and improve their major league roster by compromising the minor league roster. But you don't need to give all of that up. And, what it does is it reinforces the need for competition. Competition is good. All right. If you only have guys who are clearly in a position and the rest of the crop, they clearly aren't. If there's a strong divide between the haves and the have-nots, it's not a good situation. And so the competition is good. What does it look like at the major league level? Well, you got Jacob deGrom, John Gray, and Martin Perez. Those are your top three. With Martin Perez, I think there's probably a pretty good chance that he ends up as your four going into the season, because I think the Rangers are going to still add another starting pitcher who will slot in maybe ahead of him. So all of a sudden, the complexion of your rotation is totally different, but you still got to make that move, and you still need Jacob deGrom to be healthy. But if healthy, that looks like a pretty good rotation.
Jared Sandler, our Texas Rangers insider, joining us on the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. The breaking news: Jacob deGrom signs a 5-year, $185 million deal. Includes a conditional 6-year that could take the deal all the way up to $222 million. Jared, this is an ownership group that has come under fire in recent years for their lack of spending. What they have done the last 2 years, last year and now this offseason, signals what in terms of the mindset change and shift for this ownership group with respect to winning right now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is not a game of pickleball where you're just hitting the ball back and forth over the net, right? You know, and you're not quite sure you're going in one consistent direction. This is clearly an ownership group and a front office that they are aligned. You know, there's nothing janky about this, and I don't know that this means they're about to spend at the top of the market again this offseason. I will tell you, I don't think that this is the end of the Rangers' big spending over the next few years. But what I will tell you is that I wouldn't be surprised if this is not the only headline move for the Rangers. Again, doesn't mean they're getting deGrom, but hey, they got a lot of opportunities in the trade market, and there are a lot of guys out there in free agency who maybe they're not aces, maybe they're not top of the rotation pitchers, but they're really good pitchers that help you win divisions and help you win playoff series. So the Rangers got their ace. All right, John Gray's a really good pitcher. Jacob deGrom is an ace. They got their ace. Now it's about fortifying their rotation, maintaining their depth, and then they also got to build their bullpen. And guys, their lineup's not a finished product, but now you got a much better rotation with a top 5 lineup in the American League that I think will only get better with some of these new rules.
All right, so Jared, you clearly have your phone to your ears. You speak to us, and we appreciate you for that. About how many text messages do you think you have not been able to check as you've been talking to us?
7. I'm literally looking right now. It's up 71.
Fantastic. I love it. Let's see if we can get to 100. While we do that, what are some potential names, or what are some of the other additions that might be coming next? Not to be greedy, but I'm going to be greedy, right? You got in an ace, but I think this indicates that this ownership wants to win, and they want to win now, and that ain't no half stepping on this. If they got to put up another half Billy, they might. So is it outfield? Is it, corner infield? I mean, clearly we know another pitcher. What else could be coming?
Well, guys, what hopefully is coming is a Pac-12 championship for my USC Trojans.
No. Let him get that in there. I respect it.
I'll let you slide.
Yeah, let me just, guys, it's going to blow your mind here, but this is the biggest game USC has played since I became a USC fan, which was when I decided to go to USC.
No, that sounds about right, actually.
Oh, I'm glad you couched that for what you. I'm glad you couched that because I was like, you are tripping if you didn't say anything.
I wasn't a USC fan growing up, right? So
this
is legitimately the biggest game they've ever played. I think I remember your question. So other guys, Nathan Eovaldi, for instance, is the type of guy that could be interesting for the Rangers. They've always liked him. He's got an electric fastball. He's a Texas native. If there's any extra consideration on his end with that, and you might be able to get him at a decent price because he's been a little beat up and hasn't been able to make 30 starts a year, but a guy who has been really impressive when healthy. Obviously, we've talked about they need to improve their lineup, right? So. Jacob deGrom, the Mets fans might not like the Rangers right now. All right, Jacob deGrom might not be the only Met the Rangers are targeting. Brandon Nimmo, Michael Conforto, 2 guys who I think would make sense for the Rangers. Nimmo kind of filling that center field leadoff role, and then for Leody Taveras, hey, you got to compete. All right, maybe there's a corner spot, but we're not just handing this to you. Michael Conforto is a guy who could fill one of those corner roles. I think there are a few guys out there who would make sense, probably looking at the outfield, unless they were to make a trade to open up at one of the infield spots. But the Rangers could use some help in the outfield to join Adolis Garcia. And again, what we talked about earlier, to reinforce the competition for some of these young guys who could take one of those outfield spots. Leody Taveras, Bubba Thompson, Ezekiel Duran, Josh Smith. We're not handing this to you guys, right? It's about building the depth, having the competition to bring out the best in those guys. And then if you decide you want to make a move, well, you've got the depth to support it.
Yeah, I mean, it is the Metroplex. So, I mean, the Rangers are kind of Mets. You know what I mean? Just go ahead and let them all come on down.
I You know what? I love that. You're right. That will be like the New York Post headline, Mets in capital letters and then Roplex to round it out.
I love signings like this because things like this get me to thinking about what teams mean in terms of the larger perspective and context of the sport itself. What does this signing signal to the rest of Major League Baseball and what the Texas Rangers are trying to become relative to what they have been the last several years?
Well, I would tell you that it shows they mean business, but I think, the league knew that, right? I think they knew that last offseason. I think it was reinforced with the Bruce Bochy hiring. I think what it really does, though, KG, is, and the average fan in Pittsburgh probably couldn't tell you who the Rangers GM was or GM is, right? But what I think it does to people around the league is it lets them know, this is Chris Young's first off season, not as the GM, that was his title, but his first off season really just running the show and calling the shots. And, John Daniels is not around. And while JD was transitioning power to Chris Young would still look to his mentor and what do you think? But this is Chris Young's show. And I think it might show a little, for people in front offices around the league, I think it might show a little bit about Chris Young's aggression and, what he means for this organization. And I'd also tell you this, guys, I don't know what the Mets offered. I don't know what other teams offered. But this is not like the type of overpay where it's, the A-Rod thing where no one was within $20 million. I think what it says is that guys do want to be a part of this. There is a plan. There is a picture that is developing. I was told, and you guys called me at 7:10. I was on the phone. I was told by someone that one of the big reasons two reasons Jacob deGrom was interested in coming here. One, loved the idea of moving here, raising his family in DFW in the state of Texas. Two, he believes in what the Rangers were doing. And he's not just signing a check here or signing a contract and cashing checks. He feels like he's got work to do. He feels like he's got more he can accomplish, and he wants to do it not only at the individual level and the team level. Will they do it? We'll find out. But I think in past years, what the Rangers were selling wasn't appealing. I think what we're seeing now is that what the Rangers are selling is very appealing.
All right, double question here. Have we gotten to 100 messages and 100 wins this season, right? Right?
100 wins?
That's right.
100. I'm not having 100 season yet. I'm not at 100 wins yet, and I'm up to in the 80s in tech. In fairness, guys, some of these might be like update things, automatic, whatever. And also, some of them are from my USC group chat. So I can't tell you they're all from this move, but it's definitely exciting. Like I said, we'll see if this works out. Time will tell. But what is indisputable is that the Rangers just signed a guy, when healthy, who's the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. And he is someone who's going to be incredibly electric. You're going to see from a starting pitcher 100, 101, 102 mile-an-hour fastballs, sliders in the low to mid 90s. Look at his numbers. If you haven't followed Major League Baseball, look at this guy's numbers. Notice that the game started. All right, that is a concern. But then look at all the other numbers and how dominant this guy's been.
All right, in 30 seconds or less, how realistic now is not? We talked about Rodon, but I'm talking about guys like Verlander. Is that a realistic in play signing now? Because
so you want to just make the whole rotation out of it?
If you're gonna do it, you might as well just go all the way there. So Justin Verlander or no?
Yeah, I don't think it's Verlander. Right? I think the timeline probably doesn't match up. If the Rangers were going to sign a big contract on the mound, I think it would. Listen, I don't think it's going to be Rodon, but that would make more sense because of his age. You want to be able to layer this. So you got a guy in deGrom who's 34. He'll turn 35 next year. Verlander's obviously a handful of years older than that. I think you'd want to go younger if you're going to go big. But the trade market sign that's interesting. I don't think it's going to be Verlander. Again, I could be wrong. And I'd also say this, KG. I know you said 30 seconds or less, and I'm totally screwing you over on
You're
that
good.
night. So I apologize. Verlander's numbers, I know he's just won the Cy Young. There's some reason to believe that this is going to be his last great year. There's a lot of numbers out there that suggest it's heading in he's 40 years old or whatever, 41. He's starting to decline. So it might be in the best interest of the Rangers to look in another direction. And I'm not saying that because of any Astros ties. I'm looking at that objectively based on the numbers.